Hi guys, in the last couple of sessions we created the mapping session workflow and we loaded data into target tables and we know how to start the workflows and monitor the workflow. From this session we are going to create a mapping which reads data from multiple data sources and we'll be learning how to use the expression and aggregator transformation and we'll be using the functions in expression transformation and we will create the data summaries using the aggregator transformation. Okay, let's go ahead and see what's the mapping which we are going to create in this session. In this session we are going to create a sales summary report. Okay, we have an inventory system wherein we have the information about the orders, inventory, sales, etc. In the sales summary report we are going to have the summary of the sales by item description, state, year and month. Okay, and we'll be using the orders table, stores table, items and order items tables. Okay, once we pull the data from all these tables we'll be doing a summary and we'll be loading the data into TGT sales summary X table. Okay, with that let's go to the Power Center designer and start building the mapping. Okay, I'm already logged on to the Power Center. Okay, as a first step let's import the source definition. Okay, I'm going to go through this step very quickly and if you want to see this you can refer to my previous videos. Okay, yeah, you can see here that I have imported the source definitions and you can see that the relationship between these tables has been identified by the Power designer. Next step I am going to create the target definition. Okay, this target definition is not existing in my database, so I need to create that manually. Here also I am going to go through this step very quickly. Please refer to my previous video for the steps. Okay, with that I have created the target definition and the third step will be creating the mapping. So let's go to the mapping designer and start creating the mapping. Okay, I'm going to click the mapping and create and give the name of the mapping. Click on OK. Now the next step will be to pull your source definition to the mapping designer. Okay, for that let's go to the repository navigator and look at the sources under the source folder. I'm going to click on items first and drag it to the workspace. Okay, created the source definition and the source qualifier here. Okay, and now let me pull the other source table, orders. Okay, click on the orders table and drag it to the workspace. Okay, it created the order source table and the source qualifier, but we need to have only one source qualifier in this mapping. For that what we can do is like go to the tools menu and go to options and go to tables and uncheck this option. Okay, when you uncheck this option it is not going to create the source qualifier automatically. Okay, just click apply and okay, and see what happens when you pull the next table. Let's pull the orders item. It has not created this source qualifier, and same way we can pull the stores. Okay, let's do a right click and do the arrange. Since we do not need both the source qualifiers, I'm going to remove one source qualifier, do a right click and delete from mapping. Okay, so now we have only one source qualifier. The next step is to pull all the columns from all the sources to the source qualifier. For that go to each of the source definition, do a right click and select all and drag all the columns to the source qualifier. Now you can see that all the columns are created. Okay, do the same thing for the rest of the two tables. Okay, now do a arrange all. Now if you notice we have pulled all the columns to the source qualifier, but as per our requirement we don't have to have all these columns go into the target table. so we will be pulling only the columns which we need in the target table. Okay, for that let's create a expression. I'm going to transformation, create, and choose the expression from here. Give the name of exp underscore sales summary. Click on create and done. You can see the expression transformation is created here, and now I need to choose the columns which I need to take it to the target table from source qualifier. I need date ended and the item description, price, date, and quantity. Okay, once I choose that, just drag it to the expression transformation. You can see all the columns have been created in the expression transformation. Okay, so if you remember, we have not given any of the properties for the source qualifier. Okay, so let's do a double click and let's go to the properties tab. Okay, and if you see here, you can see a SQL query, and if you click the arrow, you'll be able to see the query which will be fired to the database. For that, do a generate SQL. Okay, now you can see that it's doing a set, it's going to be choosing data from the orders table, order items table, stores, and items, and it has created the where condition, and it has identified the table joins as well. Okay, the source call identified the query based on the relationship which we have given in our source tables, and if you want to change this SQL, or if you need to modify this SQL, you can just change it here, and after it is changed, you have the option to validate it. Okay, for that you just need to give the username of your database and the password, and you can click on validate. I'm going to give that, and I'm going to validate. You can see that there is no errors, so click on OK. But in our case, we don't have to change any of the SQL which is created by Informatica, so I'm just going to cancel it. Okay, so none of the other properties are interested for us in this mapping, so I'm just going to click OK without making any other changes. Okay, so now let's go to the expression transformation. Our requirement is to summarize the data at the month level and the year level, but we do not have those two columns, so we have the date ended column, and we are going to derive the year and month from that column. So let's open the expression for edit mode and create those two columns. Okay, click on add button to create one new column, and I'm going to name it as year. I'll keep the data type as string, and the length will be 4. Okay, in the same way I'm going to create month column, and this will be string again, and I'll keep the length as 15. Okay, since these two columns are new columns, and this is not going to be coming from the previous transformation, I'm going to choose it as output ports by unchecking the input option. Okay, since this is the output port, I need to give the value, or I need to create the value of these two ports using this expression. Okay, I'm going to click on expression. It's going to open the expression editor, and I'm going to derive the value of year from the column or port date ended. Okay, here I'm going to use the function toChar. Okay, and I'm going to choose the column date ended, and I'm going to say the format is going to be YYYY. Okay, you can validate the changes here. The expression is valid. Click on OK. The same way, I'm going to go to the expression editor for month, and I'm going to choose the function. You can choose the function from the function explorer, so I'm going to choose the toChar from here, and I'm going to choose the port or column from here, I'm going to choose date ended, and I'm going to give the format as month. Okay, validate the expression. Everything looks fine. Click on OK. OK again. Okay, so now we have created two new output ports and given the expression for creating the value for those two ports. Okay, now click apply. Okay, the next thing we need to do is to create the summary or the aggregation. For that, we'll be using the transformation called aggregator. Okay, using the aggregator transformation, you will be able to create values like sum, minimum, maximum, average, etc. So it combines multiple records together and create the summary values. Okay, let's go ahead and create the aggregator now. For that, go to the transformation, click on create and choose the aggregator. I'm going to give the click on create and done. You can see the aggregator has created in the workspace. Now I am going to choose some columns which we need in the aggregator from the expression. Okay, so I am going to choose item description and all the other columns and drag it to the aggregator. Okay, I did not pull the date ended column to aggregator because we don't need that column to be taken to the target. The purpose of the date ended column was to derive the year and month columns. Okay, now open the aggregator transformation and see the ports. Okay, if you look at here, you can see everything is similar like a expression transformation except a group by port. Okay, and if you remember in SQL, if you need to do a summary or if you need to do an aggregation, you need to have a group by clause. Okay, in aggregation transformation also it's the same way. So if you need to do an aggregation, you need to have a group by column or group by port. Okay, here we are going to do the grouping by item description, state, year and month. Okay, and we are going to create the aggregated value like total quantity, and I need to create one more aggregated value, total sales, and I'm going to set it as the output ports, and I'm going to go to the expression editor and give the formula to find out the summary. Okay, so click on the expression editor. The total quantity is going to be sum of quantity. Okay, now we can validate the expression. Expression is valid. Click on OK. The same way you can give the expression for total sales. For that, go to the expression again and I'm going to give the formula for finding the total sales. Okay, or if you want to choose the formula from the functions navigator, you can choose it from here. Okay, sum of quantity into price. Okay, validate the expression, click on OK. Now here in this aggregator transformation, we'll create the sum of quantity and the sum of sales. Okay, and the group by we have done is based on the item description, state, year and month. Okay, now apply and okay. The next step which is remaining is to load into the target table. Okay, for that, let's go to the repository navigator and choose the target table, click and drag it to the workspace. Now we need to link the columns between the aggregator and the target definition. Okay, for that, do a right click on the workspace and auto link by name. Come back to the aggregator, click on here and drag it to the target. Okay, if you see here, it has linked only 3 columns. So let's go ahead and manually link the other remaining columns. Okay, let's do a right click and arrange all your red data from the 4 different sources. Join those 4 different sources using one source qualifier and pull all the columns what we need into the expression and created 2 extra columns called year and month. Then in the aggregate transformation, we grouped these based on the item description, state, year and month, and find out the 2 summary columns called total quantity and sales. Then it is taken to the target TGT sales summary X. Okay, now we can do a wilded. Now let's go to the repository and save. Okay, with the mapping is saved and valid, we can go to the workflow manager and create the workflow. Okay, go to the menu here and click on the workflow manager and can directly go to the workflow manager. Now let's go ahead and create a new workflow. For that, go to the workflow and click on create. I'm going to give the name as WF underscore sales summary X. So now the start task is or the workflow is created and you can see from the repository navigator. Okay, so I'm going to create the session task here. For that, I'm going to choose the session task from the icon here. Click on that, come back to workspace and click here. Okay, it's going to ask you for the mapping name, so I'm going to choose the mapping which we just created. Okay, click on OK. So now the session is created. Okay, now you can go to this session property by double clicking and go to the mappings tab and go to the sources and I'm going to choose the database connection. Okay, for that click on this arrow and I'm going to choose the dpx src underscore x. This is a relational database connection which is going to connect to my source database. Choose that and click on OK. In the target properties, I'm going to go and choose the database connection. Okay, click on the arrow and choose the database connection db underscore tgt underscore x. Choose that and click on OK. Leave all the other properties as it is and you can go to the transformation and can see the properties. Here also there is no other changes I need to do, so I'm just going to leave as it is. Okay, now click on apply. Okay, and you can go to right click and validate it. Now we need to link the start task and the session task using the link task. So for that, click on the link task and come back to the start task and connect to the session task. Okay, now you can go to the workflow and do a validate. Now the workflow is valid and we can go to the repository and save. Now come back to the workspace, do a right click and start the workflow. Okay, you can see that the workflow expression is started and succeeded. Okay, let's go to the properties and see what has happened. Okay, there are 20 records read from the source and you can see that only 12 records are written to the target table, but there are no failure record. That means there is a summarization of records has happened. Okay, let's go and see some more details. Okay, you can see from the source again read 20 records and returned 12 records to the target. You can see what's the throughput speed. Since this is only a couple of records, you cannot see the exact feed of this session. Okay, and if you want to see the log file, you can go and check in here. Okay. Okay, now let's go to the database and see the records loaded there. Okay, so I have already logged on to my target database and I have the query ready to get the data from our target table. Okay, let me find the query and see what the data we have. Okay, okay. If you see here, we can see that the year, month, stage, description, total sold and total price is updated here or inserted here. Okay, and you can see that there are 12 records in here. Okay, seems to be fine. That's all guys for this video. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll be able to get the instructions for completing this training session, and you'll be able to get a complete list of training sessions, training manual, student guide, and much more information just for the fans. Thank you guys once again. See you again for the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.